Senior year at Stanford, me and my co-founder, we built this little Chrome extension. I was in class and there was this girl in front of me. She opened up her laptop and I saw my Chrome extension.
Wow.
That's a great feeling. You have to pick someone you want to build for and then build everything that they need. It makes it very obvious like what you should build. I see so many of these like new startups that literally just take an idea that's already being done and then just do it better.
Yeah.
And it works.
What makes someone like a great early teammate?
First is like energy. Like, are they excited to be there? And then the other one is humble. Coming from Stanford and Silicon Valley, a lot of people are like very cocky. It's very hard to work with them. It's like very easy to build things now. Even if you're not technical, like I think the goal right now is just to get it out the door. If I had any advice, it's just stop thinking about it and just like do something. Yeah, so I'm Kevin.
Yeah.
I've probably been working on startups or at least ideas since before high school. Kind of doing a lot of random things. Back in the day, I actually started with 3D printing. So 3D printing for educational material for blind students. And then from there, kind of moved to software.
So what is Serif? As simple as you can describe it.
Yeah, Serif is an AI executive assistant. Very simply, what we do is for people who are very busy, get a lot of email, schedule a lot of meetings, we train a model on their inbox so that next time they open it, all their emails are labeled and then pre-drafted. And then after we do that, there's more things, but the core concept is let's help busy people with things that they don't want to do, starting with email. The abridged version is I've tried a lot of things and most things have not worked, but I'm very excited by what we're doing now.
Do you believe that this is going to work?
Yeah.
Am I assuming that everything that you did, you always believe that it's going to work? Or no, that never was the intent?
I think that's a great question. I think in the beginning, there's always you always have to have some conviction that it'll work. And then as you do it, you get more information. And then oftentimes that information kind of disproves the hypothesis that you had in the beginning. And so I think that's what happened. And then as we learn more and more, like we get more accurate on what kind of ideas we have conviction in. I think me 5 years ago would have thought a lot of different ideas would be good versus like me today, which is a little more skeptical. Just because I've failed in a ton of different areas. And so kind of built up that muscle to figure out like this idea might be a tar pit instead of like a good idea.
That's good. So basically you took those failures as a learning to figure out quicker what's going to work or not work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's kind of rewind to the beginning. Okay. What actually kind of pulled you towards AI entrepreneurship in the first place? Was there like a moment at Stanford, a project, a person that made you think, wait, like this is what I want to do now?
Yeah, actually, there was this one moment. I was taking a class, it's called 231N. It's the computer vision class. And I was taking it at the same time I was taking this other class, I think it was Bio 51, which is like some intro to bio class. And somehow like the curriculum and the bio class and the CV class kind of aligned such that like we were talking about like the visual cortex and bio, and then we were learning how like neural networks worked at 231. And it was just so odd like going from class to class and feeling that like computers are actually becoming real or like more human. I think that was like a flip in my head that like, this is really exciting. This is something that I want to spend a lot of time in. I forgot what year of Stanford it was, but I think that was the moment for me. Like sitting in the class, watching kind of like the lecture, and then jumping over to another class, and then seeing like somewhat the same lecture, but in a completely different field.
Interesting. And what actually got you really into AI? Is it just the environment at SF, or is it something you felt
like really got me into it? I think like that like planted the seed, and then I think what really got me into it was just kind of building things.
Okay.
Just kind of like, I think back in the day, none of the generative stuff worked.
Yeah.
So it was mostly like you take an image and you can classify it. But then after you classify it, you can like feed it into something. And I think just building fun little demos and then seeing it from like idea to like getting something into the world, that was always the most interesting to me.
Very interesting. So do you think that putting it into the world and listening to what people say about it kind of gives you more confidence?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess this goes back to like the life cycle of an idea almost. It's like you have the idea and you just have conviction that it'll work, and then you kind of talk to some people, but you really have to build it and then give it to them and then see what they do with it to get a real sense. But then oftentimes you actually have to build it quite far. Like you can't just give someone like a shitty thing nowadays, because then like the shitty thing might be the reason they don't use it.
Sure.
But yeah, back to like the earlier point, it was really like building things and then seeing people say like, oh, I didn't know computers could do that. That was really interesting. And that's, again, like why even before AI I was into like 3D printing, which was like, I think this was in 2013, like right when 3D printers came out. A lot of the printers were very shitty. And I still think a little bit now, you don't really know what to print. But when you get something that's very useful, then it's like, I didn't know that you could kind of make this from nothing. And that was always like very interesting to me.
Very interesting. Okay. So most people with your background, like you eventually went to Meta as well to do your internship as well.
Yeah.
Right? And most people with your background who go to Stanford kind of take like a big tech route first and then eventually figure out what to do next. Like, why did you choose to do like the startup part instead? Like, what were you chasing, or like something that you were resisting maybe?
I think for me, I always wanted to do a startup. Like I always knew that I wanted to do a startup. So it wasn't a question of like, should I do big tech first and then startup? It was like, I'm going to do a startup. I'm just trying to find the idea. But for the summer, let me see what it's like on the other side. Let me see what big tech, it's very nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I enjoyed my time there a lot. Some fun projects there, but.
Was it 4 months?
I think it was like 3 or 4. It was just a summer. It was like a small summer internship.
Yeah.
But they do the intern program really well.
Yeah.
They kind of like coddle you. Yeah. But I don't think big tech was ever kind of a question for me. I always knew that after I graduated or even before, like I was going to start something. I think the bigger question was like, what do I start? Because a lot of things that we tried like just didn't work, like end up working out. So couldn't turn those into like startups.
No, I think some work out, some don't.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, like everything is like a path of learning, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You're learning few things.
Yeah.
You're picking the right things and implementing that in the next one. That is working out. That's interesting. Like I've seen recently, especially in the AI space, a lot of people, especially from like Stanford, MIT, like they are getting into, and I think that definitely rolls back to that. The core of this was, that is my take. But again, you were there, so you would know better. That is my take. Like with Stanford, MIT, they at core start making you learn this at very starting, as compared to others who kind of adapted as it kind of became mainstream, I feel.
I'm saying AI?
Yeah.
I think so. Because I think back in the day, like when I was in school, we had GANs to generate images. But you would generate this like little like 16 by 16 pixel, and it would look nothing like what you wanted to generate. Like you would say like generate a bird, and it'd be like the outline of a bird, and it would blow your mind. But like it's nothing like what we have today with Midjourney and all of these like image gen. I actually think one of the most popular classes other than like the intro CS classes was AI back in like 2016. So I think we were definitely early. But I think the whole industry just kind of like exploded overnight.
True.
Like, I don't even know what it's like now. I feel like everyone at Stanford now is probably like even more in AI. Because when I was going to school, like AI was a big thing, but it was a big thing, but there weren't real use there weren't too many real life use cases back then, before generative. It was all like classification.
On the machine learning side more, I would say.
Yeah.
Right?
And then people were training their own models. None of like what we have today, but it was very interesting. So yeah, I think like usually a little bit of head in AI and other CS things. I don't know if that's like a great or bad thing, but
Yeah. So do you think like being at a great university helped you with where you are today?
yeah, definitely. For me, definitely, because I grew up in Arizona. And so I think if I didn't go to Stanford, I wouldn't. The thing that Stanford really gave me, which I think is not talked about often, is this feeling that like you can do whatever you want to do. Like you can build whatever you want. Because back when I was in Arizona, I had a lot of very, very smart friends. They ended up going to like state schools. And I think the only difference between them and me is that I went to a school that kind of everyone around it told you that you could just do anything, and that gives you a different mindset. And I think if they had that mindset, they would be able to do anything. But that mindset's not super instilled at other colleges. And I think that's like a big thing that I'm very grateful for.
Agreed. And I think right now, even me, and like I'm trying to kind of understand more on the high agency side, because a lot of people are like focusing on hiring people who are high agency. And technically, whatever we say, in the layman, high agency folks are building what we are using today.
Yeah.
So what you said really taught me that Stanford builds in that environment that you said you can do anything.
Yeah.
That's high agency, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. High agency. You can definitely get the high agency from other places. Like you don't have to get it from school.
Yeah.
Like you can just like do things, which is really exciting.
No, I agree. And I think, but what you said, that people when they went to state school or other school, what I feel, everybody makes you say, if you're doing something, why won't you be able to do it? Like what's not working first?
I see.
What's not going to work first? They put it in the perspective that you want to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
But I feel, that is my take, that I feel instead of that, we should be like, just start it.
Yeah.
Like, because if we don't take the first step right when we are at the peak of that motivation, I don't think we will ever take it. Then we'll just go in that rat loop of like just thinking this is not going to work, this is there, the same startup is there, they're doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So I think we are just not going to start at all then.
I think nowadays, if there's something you want to do, you should just do it. I think that's obviously like everyone's case is different, but I do think if you just take the action, then you learn something, and that's much better than just sitting and like thinking about it.
No, I agree. And I feel right now, it's much easier to do.
Oh, way more.
Like way more easier to do as compared to maybe even a year back, I would say.
I think the way that I look at it is every 10-ish years we have kind of a new innovation.
True.
10 years ago is mobile.
Yeah.
And in the first like year to two of that new innovation, it rewards the people who are just playing around and doing things.
Yeah.
Because it's this brand new platform, and whoever's like playing around and just launching things, seeing what works, can hit like the zeitgeist early and kind of win.
Yeah.
And right now is that for AI. It's going to be for a while, but last year and the year before, those were like the golden years.
True.
Those years you could launch anything and it would just go viral.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder now, but it's still like a very golden year compared to like 3 years, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You really had to be very sophisticated to come up with like an idea that would work.
Yeah. And I think I was just talking to somebody yesterday and I was telling them, there will be a time, we are still seeing it now, everybody is doing the same thing in AI.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to put AI in their product, AI insights, AI summary, AI this, AI that, and I feel it is going to be redundant.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what the next innovation comes in this space. And there will. I think we are the ones who are going to stop it.
Yeah.
And that is very an interesting space to be in.
It's definitely going to be like every app just has AI. It's just like a expected thing.
Yeah.
But then there's going to be some people that like really take it and push it and like enable something that wasn't really possible before. Kind of like how everyone had a website. It's like everyone has a website. Like Walmart has a website. But like a native company like Amazon like really pushes it to like what you can do now that you couldn't do before. And I think those are the interesting companies to me.
Yes, totally true. Okay. So you definitely have a background. You said you have tried, you have founded a lot and you have failed a lot. What itch were you trying to scratch with Serif that you hadn't scratched before? And how different is it now from like going from idea to execution?
Yeah. I actually think, so Serif to me is like the spiritual successor of my last startup that didn't really work.
Okay.
So my last startup was called Include. And we started this in 2019, right before we graduated. And the idea in 2019 was people have a lot of like mundane crap that they have to do on the internet. We thought that we could build a no-code, like consumer grade automation tool that you and I could use to like automate tasks that we have to do on the web. For example, like if you lose your credit card, I don't really want to go through the process of going to the website and figuring out how to get a new one. So what if I could tell Include to get me a new credit card and it would just do that? So this was before LLMs. And so a lot of these kind of tasks, we call them flows, had to be hard-coded. And you had to have like a crowdsourced pool of people like creating all these automations. The thing we learned after like working on that for a while was that if you actually look at someone's computer screen and you monitor it for like a month, you get a distribution of where they spend their time. Most of their time is spent consuming content, communicating with people, writing something. It's very, very little amount of their time is spent like actually doing like a thing, like a task that can't be automatable. And so with that insight, we decided that like that really wasn't a market. And so Serif is kind of the spiritual successor to that. Like at the end of the day, we want to serve, I call them like people who are doing things. So business people, like realtors, lawyers, sales adjacent, people who are like building in the world. We want to work for these people. And then we work backwards. Because we want to work for these people, we tried to like automate stuff for them, but that didn't really provide much value. What do they spend their time on? Like what is the one thing they spend most of their time on? And it turns out it's email. And so then it was like, let's build the best email assistant for them so that we can kind of help them save time and then earn the right to do more for them. And so that's kind of like the itch, I think, that was scratched. It was like, we always knew we wanted to serve these people, but the initial idea sounded good on paper. Like it always sounds good to tell someone like we created this powerful tool that is very easy to use that can automate all the mundane stuff that you have to do. And everyone like really loves that. But then when they actually get the product, they don't really know what to automate. And so I think for me, it's like the big learning is like, you shouldn't be selling this like tool that can't automate things. You find a use case, like one use case, and like make sure that you nail that. And Serif is the like culmination of that learning. That use case is email. And let's nail email. Let's make sure it's the best email drafter. So like new user comes in, we train a model on them specifically. We write the most accurate emails. And then after we do that, then we can kind of expand into other things.
Interesting. And because I think one thing I definitely see, tool like Serif, for a bigger audience. Right now, I know you're catering to people who spend a big chunk of their time on email, which is a huge audience. But I see this as a potential tool to be used by everyone who types.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think like we want to keep narrow right now.
It makes sense.
Yeah. There's a specific type of person that we know we could provide a lot of value for. And so we're going to saturate that. But then once we do that, I don't know how long that'll take. Definitely can expand into different types of things.
Interesting. Okay, very interesting. So you also describe Serif as a assistant that you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
Can you break that down? And what's the user tension it exactly solves? And why now? Why not last year? Why not next year? Why
Yeah.
not?
I'm going to answer the why now first, and then I'll go into the user tension bit. The why now, I actually launched a version of Serif 2.5 years ago. It was called Email Triager. And so I launched it onto Twitter. It went viral. I think 1 million views, like 5,000 likes. I built up a wait list of 10,000 people. But then after getting people on, quickly realized the AI back then wasn't smart enough. So we draft emails that would just be so bad that you would never send them. And so it doesn't provide any value. And then it was just so expensive that you couldn't really be drafting for every single new email. And so I thought back then that the idea was great, but it wasn't the time. And so we've been kind of like monitoring that for a while. So we've followed that. And I think only up until recently have we been able to, I say, train custom models for users at a like price that makes sense, that can draft emails that are good enough that you would actually send them. And so I think it's been like a journey of when is the right time that we can actually do this. I think like a year ago you could have done it, but you would have to charge quite a lot of money.
True.
And we wanted it to be more of like a accessible but premium. We didn't want to charge like $1,000 a month, something closer to like 100, even 20.
Yeah.
And so we've been working on it for a while. I think right now is the time. And then the user tension, why people don't really know they want this, is because they've tried the AI tools. Like they've gone into Gmail, they've tried Gemini, they've tried ChatGPT, they've tried like the AI implementations and all the other like clients that they might use, and they realize that like the AI is pretty bad.
True.
And so they kind of give up on thinking that like AI can be their assistant. I see our product closer to like you training and hiring and training a human executive assistant that like goes in, reads your emails before you get to your desk, and then pre-drafts them. Our product is closer to that than it is like a Gemini. And so people don't really know that a lot of wealthy people don't read their own emails. They have someone read and like handle it for them. And so that's when I say like people don't even know that they want something like this. They don't know that people don't read their own emails. And we think that we can get to that experience very soon.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I think the way you put it here, that a lot of people have assistants kind of reply to their emails.
Right.
And that is where you want to have that experience that feels more natural to the reader, right?
It feels like, the way that I think about it is like, you get a lot of emails, and nowadays you get even more emails because of all the cold like spam from AI.
Sure.
So you just get a lot of crap, and you have to like sift through it and pull out what actually needs your attention.
Yeah.
And then for the things that actually need your attention, you want this AI to like pre-draft like an action or a reply. And that's the work that nothing right now does really well on the market, that we are trying to like do.
Interesting. I think definitely an interesting space to kind of grow towards. Bigger, really big market out there for this.
Yeah.
And I think definitely a tool which will not just save time, but also make the life easier in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole idea is, we say buy back your freedom. So it's not just buy back your time. A lot of people sell time, but if you can actually buy back your freedom, that's a lot more valuable. And what I mean by that is like the freedom from having to like constantly check your phone every time you get an email, or like when you need to schedule a meeting, not having to like schedule it yourself, like the freedom of handing off a task and knowing it's being done how you want it to be done, that I think is really valuable. And that's what we're trying to achieve.
I agree. While you were saying this, I just remembered one of my friend posted this on Twitter or I think LinkedIn, that I think a few months back, he got a mail from Cursor
Yeah.
that would you like to join us? Okay, and he never replied because he never saw it.
Yeah.
So I feel a tool like this, when you say freedom, it also mean opportunities, right?
Flags the important thing.
Exactly.
If he
had Serif at the time, I'm telling you, he would have been at Cursor. So, yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
The potential of the tool that you're making
Yeah.
and the space you are in. So, definitely an interesting space to be in. So, I definitely know that Serif isn't your first kind of venture into like no coding AI tooling. Where you said you did include to now what you're doing. What's kind of your shift in how you approach the product building?
Yeah.
How you go from idea to execution? And is there some kind of principles you follow, or they have evolved as you have learned things?
Yeah. I think the main one, which I brought up briefly before, is just pick a real use case, like one use case. Because as a builder, I gravitate towards building tools that people use to build things, like Notion, like Zapier kind of things, like include. The biggest failure mode for those kind of products is not having one clear use case. If you have like 5 use cases, that's too vague. And so for me, it's always now, what is the use case? Like, what is the one thing you're going to do really, really well for someone that like they can't do through another product? And like breaking that down even more, I think I'd include, we ended up finding that the big use case was kind of extracting data. And so instead of building like an AI no-code web automation thing, we should have just built like a data scraper. And we would have had a much easier time kind of positioning it, figuring out who to sell to, and then figuring out what more things we could sell them. So that's one big thing kind of at a product level that I look at now. Another thing that I look at very intently now is you have to pick someone you want to build for, and then build everything that they need. In the past, I would be more interested in the idea of like what to build, and then find people that it's helpful for. So it's very different. It's like, I used to be building a hammer and then searching for nails to hit. And then now it's like, there's a specific type of person I want to serve. What can I do for them today? And then what can I do for them tomorrow? And so it changes the equation, I think, pretty drastically. And it makes it very obvious, like, what you should build. And obviously, like, with new ideas, it's going to be a mix of, like, you kind of have to come up with something. You're not always going to be able to, like, just find a new thing by just kind of, like, looking at what people do. So it's a mix of both, but now I try to gravitate much more towards, like, who am I building for, and then what do they need?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. One thing I do have a follow-up. How do you handle, I think you said in the starting somewhere, I forgot it, but how do you handle kind of if there's a product out there that is serving the same folks that you want to? How do you handle that? How do you...
Like, if there's someone already doing it?
Yeah. Would you say don't do it at all?
No, I think that's oftentimes good. Yeah, because it shows that there's a market.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these markets aren't fully won. Like, there's only a handful of markets that are like won that are very hard to break into. It's like, if there's a competitor, it's probably a good thing. And if they're doing well, it's probably like a pretty good thing. Just because, like, they've proven out the market. I think most times people fail because they pick a wrong market. And so, like, you de-risk it by having a competitor. I mean, I see so many of these, like, new startups that literally just take an idea that's already being done and then just do it better.
Yeah.
And it works. Like, Linear, I think, is a great example.
Yeah.
Like, you just take Jira and you make it better.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, I think I agree what you said. I think first you already have a validity that it's working.
Yeah.
There is a market. And if there's a market, I feel there are problems. And how do you make yourself better with that problems?
Right.
Seeing the problems. That's really interesting. Okay. So you have also worked with Meta in the applied ML team. How did that experience kind of influence your view on engineering, design, product building? What stayed with you, what you learned there, and what did you have to unlearn when you kind of moved away from there to kind of a startup world?
Yeah. So I was on the applied ML team. I don't know if it still exists, but I was a design engineer within AML and FAIR. And I got very lucky because as an intern, they just let me like do whatever I wanted. They're like, go find a project. And so I did this project where my dad's actually blind. And so there was this tool back then. It was kind of like a segmentation model where you could pass in an image and it would segment out all the objects in the image. And then it would have bounding boxes. And so we took that model and we applied it on images so that when you were on your phone, you could run your finger across the image. And then when it hovered over like a TV, it would read TV. So you can kind of get a sense of like what was in an image. It's kind of like an extension of auto alt text, which they have right now, which is AI that automatically like writes alt text for images. This is like the extension where like now you could feel what was in the image. And it was interesting because as a design engineer, I kind of built the prototype, built the interactions, and then you kind of handed it off to engineering and they would kind of implement. And then you had research that kind of worked on the model. So the big thing at Meta was like, you just had so many people. Like if there was a project that they were interested in, you just had a ton of resources that you just don't have as like a startup. And I think that's like the major difference. It felt clearly that they were like already at 1,000 scaling to like 2,000 versus like a startup is like you're going from 0 scaling to 1. Different type of people, different type of like work, different everything.
Interesting. Is there something that you take from like unlearn when you kind of move from here to here? Like you do say like the 1,000 to 2,000 or 0 to 1 or something else?
I don't think I was there long enough, just as an internship. So I kind of just like came in, did something and then left. So I don't think I never really learned it.
Yeah.
But what I did learn is I was fortunate to meet one of the like senior leaders there. I think she ended up leaving to become CEO of
Something.
Yeah, Fiji Simo. But in this meeting, she was just like, at Facebook, there are also like 0 to 1 people and like 1 to 10 people and like 10 to like 100 people. And when I say 0 to 1, I mean like different stages of like an idea. It's like 0 to 1 people come in and they build the foundation of the idea. They take it from just an idea into something. But then once they do that, they're not super interested in scaling it. And so you bring in a new team to scale it. And this new team, even though they're all very smart, this new team is very good at scaling things. They're not very good at like building things from scratch. And the way that she talked about new projects, it was like, when we have a new project, we bring in the 0 to 1 people and they take it from nothing to an idea. And then we rotate them out and then we bring in the 1 to 100 people to scale it. And then those 0 to 1 people go off and start like a new project. And that was like the first time I heard that. And it made a lot of sense, but I just hadn't thought about people in that way.
But do you think like 0 to 1 people cannot build like after going from 1 to maybe 10, 100?
I think it's more of like what motivates them and what they're interested in. Like if you're like a startup person, you're interested in building new things, I don't think it's going to be super interesting optimizing like the final like 1% of something. And so you probably can, but it's a question of like, do you want to? Or like, does that make you wake up every day? And because everyone like has a different motivation. And it's, again, more about like what motivates you.
So how does somebody make from 0 to 1,000? Because for a 0 to 1,000, you have to be 0 to 1, 1 to 100, 100 to 1,000.
Those people are not super common.
Okay.
Those are like oftentimes like the founders who take something from nothing to like IPO. And that founder has to like reinvent themselves every like big milestone. And if they don't, then they get replaced. Or like they realize that they can't, or they don't want to reinvent themselves at a certain point. And then they find someone to like swap in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. So you have built or kind of worked in different spaces like healthcare, health tech, geospatial AI, and now assistant tooling. What's your lens for picking the next thing to work on? Like, is it like
Yeah.
a personal thing, market need, a challenge that you see, or something else?
I think nowadays it's more like I've tried a lot of things and I figure out what I'm interested in and what I'm not. So it's just like, what am I interested in? And more or less, I'm interested in building products for people. And so when I say products for people, it's very different than like a product for a company. Like a CRM would be a product for a company. I don't think I would be very interested in doing that, but I would be very interested in building like products for people.
Very interesting take.
Yeah, and then getting more detailed, like I think it's more idea by idea. It's like, is this idea just interesting to me? But generally the pattern is more like prosumer, consumer, productivity, utility. Then maybe if it's like interesting, like pure consumer, I would be okay with.
Okay, but I think that is what I saw in your earlier endeavors as well, that I think this is a pattern that kind of comes out.
Yeah.
And I think it relates back to what you actually believe in as well, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't
Right.
if you're in a space that you would not be for a long time, then
Yeah.
very interesting. Okay, so next is something around what makes someone like a great early teammate, right? How do you, like, not on a paper, but like in a room, like how do you be with someone, make something at early stages? How do you find that thing? What kind of behaviors or instincts that tell you that I can build with this person?
I think two things immediately come to mind. The first is like energy. Like, are they excited to be there? And that's like on us as well. Like, we have to create the environment where like they can get excited. Like, if they value autonomy and like being able to like have ideas and like see them through instead of like spending time in like politics trying to push their idea, then we want to create that environment. And then if they come to work and they're very excited and just like high energy, very motivated, that's a great one. And then the other one is humble. I think coming from Stanford and Silicon Valley, a lot of people are like very cocky. It's very hard to work with them. And the reason is because if you kind of disagree, then they get very defensive. And so someone who's like open and just excited, on top of like all the technical bits, they have to be able to
Do what they're coming to do.
Yeah. But on top of that, those extra things.
No, I think it's like they are like the prerequisites. You need that.
Yeah.
But that last 5% or 2% is that cherry on the top kind of thing, which you said.
Yeah, because if you're extremely technical, but you're very hard to work with, and like you're just like you don't even want to be there, then it drags the morale of everyone down.
You're another AI.
Yeah, I'd rather someone who's very technical, but also like is excited to work or is excited to build with us.
Yeah. Makes sense. Very interesting. Okay. If Serif kind of disappeared tomorrow, let's say.
Yeah.
What space would you dive in next and why?
And I couldn't dive into the same space.
No.
I think if I couldn't work on Serif and I couldn't work for this set of people that I currently build for, I had to pick something completely different. I would probably pick some viral consumer app. Something like what Mischief does. Like, the red boots. Like the car that they shipped like the keys to like 50 people. Yeah, I love that. I would do something like that.
Yeah, that is crazy. I got to know through Casey's video.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I think it's so funny.
I was like,
who comes up with these ideas?
Exactly.
These are great.
yeah, I was like, why I'm not in New York?
Yeah.
In New York, but that was so crazy. At the end, I think I saw Casey's video only that it ended up in like a river or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but that was crazy.
It's a fun experiment for the time.
Yeah.
The one I really liked is they bought this really famous painting.
Yeah.
And then they made copies of it. They made 1,000 copies of it.
Put it in public, right?
No, and then they like mixed it, and then they sold each paintings for like $10. And so you don't know if you have the real one or a fake one, and no one knows. They don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, so someone might have like a real, I forgot what painting it was, but it was a very expensive painting. But like just these ideas, it's just so fascinating.
Nobody would ever think of it.
Yeah, like what if I created a studio like that, but for apps? Just like these funny, weird, viral apps.
There's a guy, I'm totally forgetting his name. There's a guy, a product designer.
Okay.
In his portfolio, I think he changed his portfolio now, but in his portfolio, he had a space called Ideas.
Okay.
What he does, random ideas, he makes a UI, maybe some animated UI, and puts it. So one of the UI that he had, if ChatGPT was for Mickey Mouse. And he made that UI. It was so good.
So what would it look like?
It looked like it is...
For Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I know.
Okay.
It's just very difficult to explain, but it looked like it's for Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
It did.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. For example, I think the chat bubbles had like the ears. It was so good. Like, and it looked like it looked like it fits. If I put Mickey Mouse hand having a phone, like that view in the same.
That's what it would look like?
It would look like it fits in.
I would, if I couldn't do anything I'm doing, I'd do stuff like that.
Yeah. That is crazy. And I think it takes guts to do this, I would say.
I definitely would have to have money to do that because I don't think that will make anything.
I don't know how then Mischief makes money.
No idea. Marketing? I don't know. But I feel like
Boots went viral. I think Boots got sold for sure.
they used to have I don't know if they've done anything recently, but they captured attention really well for a while.
Yeah.
And I bet you they could have sold that attention for something, like sponsorships.
Maybe. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. What's a small project or moment from your journey that most people overlook, but you think of all the time?
Probably senior year at Stanford, me and my co-founder, we built this little Chrome extension that would click on the enroll button at midnight so you could get the class you wanted. And it was very fun. When we launched it, we got it to the Chrome store, and then for one of the nights, we stayed up all night and we printed out like a couple thousand flyers and we taped it to every single door of every single dorm. So when you walked in, you would run into it. And then we scraped all of the emails of every person at Stanford. And we got them to try the Chrome extension. And then when enrollment happened, the servers, like it took the server down. And that was like a moment in time where like, I was like, wow, something we built like had some effect. And there's one specific moment. I was in class and there's this girl in front of me and I didn't know who this girl was, but she's very pretty. She opened up her laptop and I saw my Chrome extension.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like,
That's
okay.
it? That's me?
That's a great feeling. Like when something you build in like your little dorm room, like over many like late nights, like because when you build things, you get users, it's just like really like numbers unless you like call them. But like how often do you build something in your like dorm room and then you like go into class and you see someone you want to talk to and they open up their laptop and it's like the thing that you built? That was like very special to me. And I kind of like wanted to replicate that feeling.
Very interesting. It's a similar feeling if some some, let's say, actor or actress is like flying on a plane.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
see
yeah.
somebody else like seeing their movie or
Yeah.
something. And like, we're just sitting at the back, but
Yeah.
so good. That is true. Okay. Last question that I have is, if somebody out there is thinking of doing something
Yeah.
around AI or maybe in tech, what advice would you give to them?
I think following the theme that we talked about today, it's just like, you should just build. It's like very easy to build things now. Like even if you're not technical, like there's these tools, maybe they don't work super well, but you can get something out the door very easily. So I think the goal right now is just to get it out the door. Because I think who knows if it like hits. I think now, especially more than any other time, it's like values high agency. So I think if I had any advice, it's just like stop thinking about it and just like do something.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
It was fun.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.